everybody. Welcome to 500 Open Tabs. I'm Kaveh Taherian.
And I'm Hannah Hillom.
And you have a can of olives.
Yes. I will say the name if they pay me.
I wish they would pay me. I do love those olives, too. We've talked about this
Early
often.
California, yeah.
Or Lindsay olives. I like those ones.
I like
all
ones
canned.
too.
I just love the terrible canned olives like those. I don't know why.
I don't want the real stuff. I want the canned black olives.
Well, I'll eat the fancy stuff too. Sarah's very bougie, and she's like, I don't eat those. I only eat like nice olives, and I'm like, I don't care. I'll eat all olives.
Well, looks like you're living with the bourgeoisie.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a theme for today, apparently. But anyway, speaking of the Olive Cast, welcome to Olive Cast. This
is called an Olive Cast. How's it going?
It's going all right. This is our Thanksgiving week episode. So if you're listening to this, you're either on the way to see family or not see family, or hopefully going to see some sort of big turkey Thanksgiving-ish, lunch-ish dinner of some sort. I love eating on Thanksgiving. I'm a big fan.
I like it.
Obviously, the politics of Thanksgiving are complicated, but I do like eating a lot of food. And it's as for my family, it was the one weird thing that we assimilated to. So Christmas was not something we celebrated, but for whatever reason, Thanksgiving.
It's not like specifically like just Western. Like everywhere has some sort of harvest festival in the way that it's a unifying thing, you know, where it's like, let's all eat together.
It's a lot of food, which is inherently a Persian thing anyway. So they're just like, oh, cool. It's the holiday where you just have a bunch of people over and family and a lot of food. Great. Yep. That's just Thursday for us.
That's just another weekend dinner to us. Yeah. But yeah, for those of you listening to this on the porch of your in-laws' house, trying to get some air, happy Thanksgiving. And I hope no one's fighting.
Or you've walked away from your family to get more high and smoke more weed and then go back and eat second breakfast, as we like to call it in our family. We're always like, I'm going to go back for second breakfast.
Because here's the thing, your stomach may be full, but if you're high enough, it doesn't feel full.
Exactly.
So it's like the modern day Rome vomitorium.
Yeah. I mean, those days are behind me in terms of the doing drugs part of it. But I will still go back for a second breakfast over and over again. It's great because last week we were terrorized by a wood chipper, and this week we started off terrorized by a leaf blower. Hopefully it has not been ruined.
It's on again. It's still there.
It's still happening.
Somebody is just blowing every leaf in California.
Imaginable. Anyway, that's all. We're going to have some fun stuff so stick around to the end of the show after we do our tabs, because we have some fun stuff to talk about. Some new exclusives that we're going to release. So stick around. Anyway, that is for the YouTube version, of course, is where we're going to see it. You can't see things when you're listening to the audio version unless you're on some super high drugs like Thanksgiving lunch.
A big turkey is going to come out and be like, buy their exclusive merch. It's Nixon.
I don't know what that is. It sounds underwater.
For Nix, it was a drowning turkey that talks like, I almost said Robert Nixon. Anyway.
Robert Nixon, famous turkey.
Yeah.
Loved buying exclusive clothing.
When they killed him at the White House for Thanksgiving, it was insane. Okay.
Chopped his head off. He was relieved. Anyway, yes, I think you're going first this week.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, why don't you go to let's hop to it.
Okay. Aye, Captain. So, all right. So this I've had this tab, this series of tabs open for I think 7 months. And I keep going back to him being like, is this week the week? Is this week the week? And it has never been the week until now.
Lucky us.
Oh no, man. I found I have had to exercise so much self-control this week, and I think I've done it. But if you remember episode 20 with Miles, when Miles was on, I covered
the Fata Morgana.
The Fata Morgana.
Yes.
And
Leia Organa is what I kept saying.
Leia Organa, yeah.
Yes.
Accurate. I kept mentioning Phantom Islands as being something that people would see, thinking they're seeing an island out at sea, but it's actually a mirage. Anyway, the tab on Wikipedia called Phantom Islands is perfect. It has everything you could want. It has adventure. It has deceit. It has a lot of cartographers making mistakes. But yeah, so my tab today is the Wikipedia article on Phantom Islands.
Wonderful.
So a Phantom Island, which sounds like a really cool band name also. Like
the Phantom Island. Yeah. Unfortunately, because of my previous podcast, immediately my mind goes to the Phantom of the Opera.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I didn't want to, but I'm going to I was going to lie if I said it wasn't embedded. I've been psyoped into thinking about it all the time. So I hear Phantom Island, and I just think the Phantom of the Opera got his own island by murdering everybody, and then now he lives there and plays stupid, dumb, terrible music and kills more people.
It's
probably
not great music.
Dun, 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 dun. That's all you hear on the island 24 hours a day.
You just immediately turn your boat around or just crash it into the rocks. It's like, I can't do this.
Yes, I would just drown
it's like
right away.
The opposite of a siren or like a instead of like luring men to their death, men choose to die on the rocks of that island. They're like, this again? Oh,
sorry.
It's fine. Look, I wasn't going to bring up Phantom.
I'm apologizing to myself. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Interesting. No, a Phantom Island is like not, as you said, a theater guy in a basement on an island with a mask and dumb. A Phantom Island is a kind of cape, whatever. A Phantom Island is a purported island which was included on maps for a period of time, but was later found not to exist. So these are different than Lost Islands, which I didn't know existed either. Apparently there's like a whole list of like islands that used to exist but are no longer there. Either like a volcano exploded and they like went away, or they melted like from like
go
ice.
Underwater in some of them, like because ocean levels rising.
Yeah. And so there's a whole list of that, and that's a whole different tab that I didn't click on. So
congratulations. I'm proud of you for not going down that path.
I was scared. So why? I'm always scared. This podcast is scary. It takes me to limits that I didn't know I could, Why would an island that doesn't exist be put on a map anyway, right? Our early
Are you asking me rhetorically? No. Okay, sorry.
Early cartographers were kind of loosey-goosey. Hold on. It autocorrected loosey-goosey to loose goose.
They were loose goose. They were least geese.
You're least geese. Yeah, so early cartographers were like, yeah, we're going to guess, I think. I heard about this island. We're popping it on here. Or like,
I got it. It's like Friday afternoon at like 3 p.m. They're like, no one's going to check
The monks are like, we got to get out of here. Hurry and finish.
We got to get to the pub and drink.
Yep. So early cartographers were just like, yeah, whatever. This looks like an island. Let's do this. And a lot of times people on boats would be like, oh yeah, I see an island. Just jot it down. And then a cartographer would add it later based on like.
So I see an island. So just jot that down.
So jot that down. Through God, all islands are possible. And so they were often mistaken because, I don't know, people in the 1400s were just like, I don't know, maybe there's sea monsters. Maybe there's like.
It could be.
Turns out they're orcas. So more sinisterly, sometimes these islands were made up for a reason to deceive somebody. And so I'm going to go through like, the reasons there exist are the misidentification. So it's either like an iceberg or a sandbank, rocks, volcanoes, and mirages, fata morganas, or it's a duplication of a nearby island. So there is already another island, and they just kind of like got mixed up somehow, or like calculated it wrong, and they're like, "There's two." Oh yeah,
not like a 3D printed copy of the other island. It's like they mistakenly, It's like, is it like a giant cell? What's happening?
Yeah. That's how islands are formed. They split off from,
Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the island.
Yes, it is. That is what we learned in island school.
In grade school.
I don't know what I'm talking about. So,
and then we would break for lunch to eat canned olives.
And take our medicine.
Yay.
So this is an example of this duplication on a map of this isle called Isle Philippot, and it's in Lake Superior, and it appeared in a treaty between the U.S. and Canadian territories as the definition between the two borders. And then years later, they were like, there's no island here. How we just like made this up. There's an island over here, but we've been using this non-existent island to define our borders for years. And
classic Canadian bait and switch.
It's just us. That was us. Sorry to say.
What?
How I know we're known for being accurate and respectful as a nation. Another example of a phantom island would be something that is miscategorized. So, like, let's say you're on your boat or whatever, and you're like, "Hey, that looks like an island." Jot that down, and then you get on the land, and you're like, I don't know, this is an island. And
this is actually a boat.
We're on another boat. This is actually, maybe like make a new map or don't, But here's the best part about this one is that the biggest example of this is California, the state of California.
Famously not a real island.
Famously, because the Spanish full-on thought it was for years.
Really?
Maybe not years, but they approached Baja California and they were like, that looks like an island, because it kind of does. You know, you can't see where it connects to the mainland.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is an island, let's go on it. And they thought that it was so beautiful that they named it after a mythological island from a book called Califia. And that's where California gets its name.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because the Spanish were like, this is as beautiful as this mythical island from this book. And in the novel, it's like it was written in the 1600s, and there's like a queen named Queen Califia, which is based on, I'm going to go down a little rabbit hole, which is based on the word for Khalifa, which is Arabic for queen.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah. And then...
So California is literally just, it's an Arabic name, essentially?
From Caliphate.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Caliphate.
Yeah, California.
Wow. In the words of Hannah Hillam, wow.
Wow. Wow, Jan. It's sure, Jan. Cool. I love misquoting things. So yeah, it comes from that, which means ruler. And but there are also other theories.
Appropriate. We are the queen of America, I would like to think.
But I used to want to draw Queen Califia, because I read about this a while ago, and I was like, I'll draw her. What would she look like?
I don't know anything about her.
I don't either. Anyway, then they soon discovered that California was just not an island, and it just kept
imagine
going.
That. It's not just that it's not an island. It's like, it's California. It's the entire, basically the size of the West Coast.
Right. Well, even funnier, the Portuguese on the other side were going over to Brazil, and they were going over to like explore and colonize South America, and they get there and they're like, that looks like an island. Let's call it Ilha de Veracruz, because Veracruz was the guy that was like Veracruz. And then they realized that it was just all of South America. It was not an island. You're like, oh, this place is huge.
These guys have huge spatial awareness problems coming from these two different cultures.
Yeah.
Really, someone needs to look into that. There might be, how do they even walk? I feel like their insides are off, and like their balance is ruined. They're just probably tripping over.
Just tripping.
Just gigantic. Over. Apparently 1,000 feet tall, because they think that.
Huge. Because that's an island to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Then here's my favorite reason Phantom Islands exist, is because of someone did it on purpose, and namely for
spite.
Well, you'll see. For one of them is for copyright traps. So like old maps, people would make a map, and then they would kind of add their own little like fake thing on it, so that they would know if someone copied their map. Like, so for example,
I see.
Yeah. So there was this guy who drew his own mountain and named it after himself. And it was on a map for like 70 years. And everyone's like, there's no mountain here. There's no Mount Richard. But Richard was just like,
Mount Dick.
It was, oh no, they didn't notice it for 2 years. That was what it was. Sorry, I misread. They didn't notice it for 2 whole years. And Richard was like, oh, whoops. Mount Dick. Just having fun at the cartography office, or whatever they did. The cartography mines.
The mines of cartography.
It's not full of dead dwarves this time.
Not at all.
So
we shall give you such a feast of mountain drawings and names.
And California. But it wouldn't just be islands. It would also be like, they called them Mount Weasels. And I don't know why they called them
Mount Weasels?
Mount Weasels. But it's like with a Z. I think that it was based on a fake name.
Mount Weasels.
Yeah.
That sounds like a motorcycle gang.
It does. Get on.
Mount Weasels.
Well, let's ride, Mount Weasels. They peel out. There's also trap towns and trap streets, which sounds like music. So oftentimes even street numbers and like house numbers and stuff like that are just for copyright reasons. And one of these is what made me laugh so hard, because it was this place called Argleton in the UK. And this town was Argleton. And this town appeared on Google Maps in the early 2000s and just stuck around. Everyone's like, what is Argleton? And they realized there was literally nothing there. It was the middle of a field. And they still don't know how it appeared. It could have been like a joke, a mistake, or a misspelling of the town nearby of Auten. And so they may have spelled Auten as Argleton. Okay. Or there's a theory that it was a placeholder name, because programmers often use the word Argle as a placeholder word, like Argle Bargle.
Oh, like lorem ipsum or something kind of thing.
And so they just like, Argleton, and then they just didn't ever change it. And it was there for like 10 years. And
once again, confirming my theory that tech companies have entirely too much power. They are creating nation states of Argleton, and that's where Peter Thiel is going to go build his utopia of libertarian, I don't know, crazy, supreme rich race that he wants to make.
I love how libertarians are like, yeah, it'll work. And it's like, absolutely not.
Nothing works.
Nothing
will work.
Bro. You think you're going to be, what's going to happen when you need an ambulance? Anyway. Yeah. Then there's also Agloe, New York, which is a fake town that ended up kind of becoming a real town. So it started fake. And it was placed as a copyright trap. And then 10 years later, a company built something near that land and called it Agloe Farms. Then it gave it more credence, and then other things started becoming being named Agloe around it. And it manifested it. And then what's his bucket? One of those men, Hank Green's brother. What's his name?
John Green.
John Green included it in a book, and it was
really?
Yeah, and that's how it kind of became popular.
That's funny.
And it stayed on maps for like 40 years until the 90s. Another great one is and
then Clinton ruined it. He took it off.
He doesn't even let us lie on maps anymore. That man is disgusting. Impeach him for that. Met him. Oh yeah, I think I met him too. That. Yeah. Oh, we talked about how he like immediately pulls you in as like a.
It's you're just like, oh, he'll transfix you.
Oh yeah, to the point where
it's like some witchcraft.
One of my earliest memories is being like, who's this man?
Yeah,
as a 4-year-old. Yeah. Anyway,
you can't describe it. No. Anyway,
another one is beat OSU, which is.
Beat OSU?
And
is
Go
this like
Blue.
A college town thing? Yeah,
this
I was
going to say,
Michigan.
And Michigan.
And Michigan.
It was inserted in the 1978
The Ohio-Michigan thing. Dear Lord.
We're back.
Dear Lord.
They're insane.
They are.
They slipped this into the official Michigan government-issued map in 1978.
Absolutely not surprised.
And it said Go Blue for Michigan and beat OSU because they absolutely hate Ohio State with a passion that I don't understand. That I can't understand.
I don't understand. I think I remember, I talked about this on some episode a while ago. It seemed like there was some Ohio-Michigan war of some sort that happened at some point. TBD, we're going to have to put a pin in that.
Oh, I think that somebody wrote in about that it was like an actual battle.
Anyway, I don't remember anything once I record the episode. It just completely goes out of my mind.
Blank.
Yeah, I'm going to be back next week. Be like, so, here's this new tab that I just did. It's called
Phantom
Mozzarella
Islands.
Tunnels.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the copyright mount weasels are kind of silly, and that happens still. Like people will be like, "Oh, I'm slipping this in," or it's like phantom settlements and towns, and then people start to write histories about them, and then none of it's real, and people try to find them, but nothing's there, and it's pretty crazy that we're gonna prank people.
I mean, it's similar to cryptids. Is sort of what I was talking about before. Remember, it's like it's this fun thing that people can just sort of all believe in.
They all jump on.
What do they call it? It's like a. Not collective magic. What's the term?
Oh, it's I know what you're talking about. It's like the collective unconscious.
Yeah. Sort of. Or it's like if everyone sort of focuses their energy on one thing together. Is that what it's called?
Isn't it a tulpa? Oh, that's that creature you can manifest. Oh, I don't remember.
But it's a similar idea that like if everybody focuses their energy on this one thing.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, we created a town because we all decided to believe in it, and then we put on the best talent show anyone's ever seen, and the next thing we know, it's on a map.
That's a great idea for a movie.
We should, or we should have
podcast.
We should host one. Yeah.
Yep. So the funny part is they call it undiscovering when they find these
undiscovering.
Yeah. So they undiscover a land or an island by removing it from a map, and they call it that undiscovering. So,
it's like unaliving an island, essentially.
Yes. It's like
TikTok has gone too far.
I just feel like undiscovering myself tonight. Why do I go insane on this show? Okay.
It's not my fault.
I think it might be.
I am not afraid of you. Don't forget that, Hannah.
No, I know. I'm glad you're not afraid of me. So another reason they're fake or they're Phantom Islands is because straight up deception. So there's like these people that were like, for example, Robert Peary. Have you ever heard of this idiot?
No, but I hate him already.
You should. He's
Peary. It's a stupid name.
So I found out about Robert Peary because I was trying to avoid writing my book. And so I was looking through old National Geographics at the library. Mm-hmm. And there was this whole spread on him and how he was the first one to go to the North Pole. And I was like, I've never even heard of this guy. So I looked him up, and it turns out he's kind of a fraudster. So
liar.
Robert Peary created an island on a map called Crockerland. And he...
Crockerland.
Sounds like Crackerland. Just a bunch of freaking Phantom of the Operas hanging out there. I don't know. And Robert Peary was like, yeah, this land exists because he needed his backer to give him more money and to keep exploring. And so he named it after the guy who was backing him financially.
This is a smart business move, though. Let's put it there. Yeah.
George Crocker. Yeah. So he tried to convince them to give him more money, and he was like kind of running low on money because he hadn't discovered anything. He hadn't like actually gone through and done stuff.
Still a little bit more time to discover.
But then this was 1906, and his backer lived in San Francisco, and the earthquake
Caliphate
in the San Francisco
home
Caliphate.
Of the Caliphate. Yeah.
Gavin Newsom is our caliph.
Queen.
Caliph? Yeah. The Queen. Khalifa
Queen Newsom.
Queen Newsom. And here's the thing, that would work in San Francisco because of drag queens.
So the earthquake happens.
And his backer, George Crocker, was like, I'm not sending you any more money. I'm going to help rebuild my city. And so Robert Peary's like, oh. And Peary's claim of reaching the North Pole, he said he breached it in 1907, I think. And he came back and everyone's like, Did you,
and
there was literally no proof.
He's like, look at this ice that I brought
No,
back.
Seriously, here's
it
what
melted,
it looked
sorry.
like. I drank it. I ate it. He claimed that he went to the North Pole, and everyone started doubting his claims entirely because they also found out that Crocker Land didn't exist. So they're like, this guy's he's just full of it. And not only that, but Frederick Cook, another contender for the first person to reach the North Pole, also lied about getting to the North Pole. Cook made his own island up called Bradley Land for the same reason, to try to get more money in Bradley Land.
Why not Cook? Aren't Cook Islands a place?
They're already a place. He made
it his own island. Oh, they were already at that point. Okay.
And
Bradley Land? It's the stupidest name I've ever heard.
Hey, Bradley Land.
That sounds like a mattress furniture store, like at the end of a strip mall. Bradley, come down to Bradley Land.
A front for the mob is what that is.
Come to Bradley Land, where only one side of our mattresses have kids piss on them.
And the other side doesn't exist because they're Phantom Islands. No, so these two men both lied about going to the North Pole and both created fake islands to put on maps. Everyone, because at the time it was like, there's not much left to explore. We've got to actually, ruin native land. Anyway, it's a whole thing. That's all. The Robert Peary expedition is a fascinating story that I am keeping open. And in that same vein, there's also a place called Santikov Land. And Santikov Land, yeah.
Even though I famously don't believe in
like
Santa
Christmas.
Claus.
Oh, I don't think anyone believes in Santa Claus. Famously, hot take, Kaveh does not believe in Santa Claus.
I think it might be a lie. I think he might have been invented by the Coca-Cola Corporation.
And Thomas Nast, how dare you?
I think he might be a marketing tool.
You call yourself an American.
Yeah, he's created by corporations. He's created by big, I don't know, Coca-Cola, big soda,
big Coke,
big Coke.
A company
to sell more cocaine.
That famously put cocaine in their drinks for like 100 years also wants us to believe in Santa Claus.
Listen, if you're high on drugs, you probably would.
Yeah, shout out to everyone high on drugs right now. So, Santikov Land was this place, Santikov, sorry. What was I saying? Santikov Land was discovered by cartographers and explorers Yakov Santikov, which is...
This is made up. This can't be real.
This is real.
No. Yakov Santikov?
No, Santa. I know
Santikov?
Santa. I know I sound like I'm being Utah and not saying the T, but it's Santa.
Mountains?
Sanna. Kov, Santa
okay,
Kov.
Not Santa Kov.
No.
Okay, I got you.
Sorry, my accent is ruining this. Yakov Santikov.
Great comedian.
And yeah, hilarious. And Matvey Gedenstrom.
That's a good name though. Matvey what?
Gedenstrom.
I like that name.
Yakov and Matvey were explorers and trying to map out these like areas of North Russia. And in 1809, and it was just a free for all. Like everyone just make a map, we'll figure it out, And they see this island and they're like, I'm naming it after myself, Santikov, but we can't go to it. We're just gonna, put it on the map. And this led to 100 years of this mythical island that no one could find, but they all were like, it has to be there. It's on this map.
Yeah.
And it ended up leading to a bunch of deaths because there was the Sannikov expedition in 1901, where Edward von Toll, who was a baron, decided to try to go back and see it because he had also seen it, quote unquote, seen it on one of his voyages, and he was like, I think that's Sannikov land. Goes back, gets a team. We're actually gonna go chart the island. And he goes out there. They get stuck in ice for like months. They get off the boat to go find their way out, and none of them are ever seen again.
Ooh.
Yeah. So somebody's mistake led to like a whole bunch of rich guys.
Sounds like somebody's vanity led to a bunch of rich guys' deaths.
Yeah. Yep. And these guys are my favorite. These are the Zeno brothers. I know none of this makes sounds
these
real.
xenomorphs that came to Earth and decided to like name islands after themselves.
Also colonizers. Also surprisingly colonizers. They're Italian brothers, which I know it sounds like Mario and Luigi, but Niccolo and Antonio Zeno, they went on a voyage, quote unquote, to the North Atlantic, where they created an entire map and just filled it with Phantom Islands from their voyage. I put it in quotes because they did not go on a voyage. They made the whole
thing up.
And here was their problem: is they made up too many Phantom Islands because other maps, people were like, "There's literally not."
It would have been so much fun to be around at this time and just be like, you could just make up anything you want, and people would be like, "Oh," and if you were like, "Yeah, no, totally," like there's a whole thing out there that you don't. It's like this hipster mentality of like, "Yeah, no, I've been to this island.
I've seen
never
it.
Been there, and I'm cooler than you."
I saw Sannikov Island. And I saw
that's
the
where I got
this
cool
Island.
hat, this cool fedora hat that you'll never get.
Yeah, they only.
And everyone's like insecure, and they're like, "Oh no, we need to get our own expedition and try and go find it."
That's
and then
literally
they all
what
die.
it is. That's what it is. It's like, look what I saw, and everyone's like, "My turn." But the Zeno brothers were like, they had like taken Zeno bro. I want to know. This was, by the way, this wasn't like in the 1400s. This was very early, right around when Columbus started his horrible
spreading disease
through the South and Central America. So these brothers were like, whether they went on any voyages or not doesn't matter. They made a map, and they used a bunch of other maps that were also inaccurate to add to their new map. And
this sounds like how you and I build our tabs. Building a masterful 40-minute presentation of misinformation built on Wikipedia articles that are probably all lies anyway.
You know, I follow all of the sources in Wikipedia.
You do follow? I do a lot of that too. I never start
to make sure it's not like from some random site.
No, I don't. Yeah.
If I do start from Wikipedia, I do find sources that actually.
Oh yeah. That's like listen, kids today, I don't know if they know this, but like it's an overview sometimes, kind of. Yeah. At best.
Maybe.
But like you got to go into like where all the links are to see like how much of it, because literally it could just be total lies or unconfirmed, or it could just be a bunch of islands. Speaking of Phantom Islands, what about Phantom facts and Phantom Wikipedia articles?
That's true. Next week.
Are you having a moment right now? I just saw your eyes go like, whoa.
Yeah, no, I just don't want to be like, just spewing. People just like the content mill of like, here's more facts. I'm just a different person spouting them out.
Yep.
But it's like, I'd rather, anyway.
Undiscover myself? What was the term?
Undiscover.
Yeah, undiscovered islands?
Yeah.
No, was that unnamed? Was it undiscovered? It was undiscovered, okay.
So many of these islands they added to their maps were just not real, and they probably didn't voyage as much as they said, since during their supposed trek, they were being tried for embezzlement in Venice. So they were literally on trial at the time they said they were voyaging. And modern historians say that it was definitely a hoax because these brothers wanted to claim that they found the New World before Columbus. And the Zeno affair, quote unquote, from the Dictionary of Canadian Biography online says, this affair remains one of the most preposterous and at the same time one of the most successful fabrications in the history of exploration. Because this map was used for years, for so long, like 200 years. And there was just, and other people would go into the North Atlantic and be like, there's literally no islands over here. Like, there's Iceland. That's about it,
Did you go into the trial?
No, not yet.
I was like, oh okay. Yeah. I was like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I told you I could leap off about 10 different places from this. And Anyway, we might hear more about the Zeno brothers later. And there's also somebody who was like, there's one off like the coast of Ireland, and that didn't exist, and called High Brazil, which makes, I don't know.
High Brazil. Sounds like...
Hey, Brazil.
Yeah, hey, Brazil. Or I was going to say, that sounds like Ireland was the island that the British were just trying to be like, it doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
It's not real.
Just delete it.
Yeah, and they tried.
Oh, boy, did they. This is a primer for what I want to do next week, which is...
Oh.
So it's a little bit more like the mozzarella tunnels, where I just kind of went through and like talked about different...
Did a bad tab?
Yeah. Is this a bad tab?
No, I was making fun of the mozzarella tunnels episode.
Thanks. Was that a bad tab? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, one more example. And this one, I wish so badly were real. It is called the Black Rock, or the Island of Magnets. So
the Island of Magnets, okay.
Magnet Island. So you know the name Mercator, right?
Mercator?
Yeah, like the Mercator projection.
I don't know what that means, no.
Gerardus Mercator, he was like a map guy.
Okay.
And he created the famous Mercator projection in 1569 that claimed that there was an island at the top of, like, at the North Pole, the exact point of the North Pole, that was just a giant magnet, which would explain why all compasses... Like, he was trying to figure out compasses. He was like, it has to just be a magnet.
Does he think that, like, it's just like a giant, like, U-shaped magnet that's, like, oversized, that's on top of the Earth?
No, just a huge island that every bit of it is magnet.
It's magnetized. It's not necessarily like a specific refrigerator magnet that's on top of the Earth. Yeah. Okay. I mean, if you're, like, in the 1400s and you, like, don't know what knowledge is, I mean, like, it's not, like, that insane of a... I mean, it's kind of...
It makes sense.
Here's the thing. If these people didn't do this kind of crap, they wouldn't have like left where they were and gone to try and figure it out. The whole point is that like you should take these leaps of insanity, but follow the results as they teach you instead of fabricating all of them.
Exactly. And this guy's he checks out, obviously. He's like one of the most famous map or cartographers in existence. And so he was like, this is the best like idea I have for why everything points north. All these these compasses point north, when really it's just the electromagnetic field, all that. But he described it. There's this author that was like, I'm gonna actually imagine what this looks like, and he said that it probably is in the midst of 4 countries, and there's a whirlpool around it. This is where it gets like wacky. Whirlpool circling this magnet island, and there are 4 seas which divide the north, and then the water rushes around and descends into the earth, just as if one were pouring it through a funnel. So this guy, Jacobus Canoian, was like, this is what it's...
Wait, hold on. So the earth is like a globe that's empty, and so the water just goes and pour. It's like the fountain this morning that I fill for the cat. It's like the cat fountain. Yes. Like the water just cycles back and forth into it.
But this is not what Mercator said. Mercator is just like hypothesizing, and this guy's like, here's what it looks like. It is 4 degrees wide on every side of the pole. That is to say 8 degrees altogether, except that right under the pole, there lies a bare rock in the midst of the sea. And it's 33 French miles wide. So I don't know.
French miles?
Apparently, I went down another little thing. Apparently, French miles are different than our miles.
Yeah. They're miles that have 2 tongues interlocking with each other every 30 feet.
Yeah. Endless French kissing. And so yeah, there's just like, people have these like ideas, and then of course people jump off of there because we're crazy. We're all crazy.
They're yes-anding. I get it.
Yeah. But I think it's really cool. And I'm saying all of these, I'm kind of going over this because I do want to jump off from one of these for the next episode.
And I'll been talking about wanting to jump off things a lot lately. I'd like you to...
I want to undiscover myself.
Maybe there's a better way you could say this, but yes, continue. Sorry.
You're right. So I'm not going to say which little story I covered today that I'm going to deep dive into, but it's going to be crazy.
One of them.
It'll be one of them. But I'm kind of obsessed with Phantom Islands now. Like the idea that we can just, like back in the day was just like, we're just going to do our best, And cartography still to this day is a little bit, like people can kind of claim stuff still, even now on Google Maps, that things exist and no one will notice.
Until someone else goes to check.
Until someone else goes to check and leads his whole team into, death.
So, yeah, they've done a pretty good job at discovering all the islands, but... They got to do some backup.
What is it? Blue is the water. No, blue is the land. In that episode.
Buster, who famously didn't realize that blue was where the water was on the maps.
That's right. Didn't they already discover everything?
Yeah, that's when he's like, they did a pretty good job.
They did a pretty good job. Yeah, that's my tab. Maybe that was not as exciting as I thought it was going to be, but
What are you talking about? It was great. A lot of insane stories.
Phantom Islands.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that tab.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the Phantom Islands.
Now, I know you said that you went nuts this week. So
I mean, I go nuts every week. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
But
is this like Johnstown flood crazy or?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
I don't know.
The amount of research certainly felt like it, but I don't know if I would say it's that level of.
You didn't have
the
to learn
story's
how
not crazy
dams
to
work.
that extent. I mean, okay. Anyway, why don't I just get into it? All right. So my tab this week is one that got out of hand very quickly, but hopefully it will be worth it.
Better be.
Yeah. So this is a story with some big themes, some big characters, and some even bigger stakes. I'm not talking about T-bone or skirt steak. I'm talking about the stakes are high.
Oh.
I came across it as I was reading about the Svalbard seed bank in Norway. You know about that?
That's been one of my open tabs for like a year.
Oh, really?
I love the seed bank.
Why don't you tell the kids out there what that is?
It's just like this up in, where is it? Svalbard, Norway, right?
Norway, yeah.
They've gone around and collected seeds from they're trying to collect seeds from every plant on Earth, every garden, like edible plant, everything to store in case of some sort of apocalyptic thing. So we can go in there and get the seeds out if we need to grow corn or whatever if everything's destroyed.
It's the RAID 4 of seeds. It's you're backing up your hard drive on another hard drive, and then you've got your cloud-based backup, but with seeds.
It's pretty incredible.
IRL.
And it can kind of survive. But I mean, it did flood a couple of years ago, but
that's true.
But
the design's really cool too. If you see the actual building,
dope. It looks like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it looks like a spaceship crashed into the Arctic and it just is sticking out. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
I've had a fixation on it for a long time now, and I don't remember why I went back to reread about it, but for some reason I was just reading about it again. As I was skimming this Time magazine article, I stopped on this short paragraph about how one of the most historically significant batches of seeds inside the vault came from the Vavilov Research Institute in St. Petersburg.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
No.
Turns out, during the siege of Leningrad, a dozen Russian scientists barricaded themselves inside to protect their collection from starving citizens in the encroaching Nazi army.
What? Okay.
And despite being surrounded by seeds and plant material, they refused to eat any of them, believing so deeply that the future of humankind depended on their collection that they ultimately starved to death.
What?
Perhaps even more dramatic is the story of how this institute even came to be.
Oh my gosh.
Which grew out of its namesake's greatest childhood fear. So, Nikolai Vavilov was born on November 25th, 1887 in Moscow. He and his siblings lived a relatively comfortable life as the children of a merchant.
Ooh.
Now, Nikolai's father, however, he had experienced bouts of extreme poverty during his childhood.
That'll mess you up.
He was able to make it out because he focused on his rap career and he signed and went platinum. His father's tales.
Rags to riches. Classic.
True rags to riches stories. And then he was on, USSR Cribs.
I just pictured 1880s Russian rap and what that would sound like.
Probably amazing.
I want to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. His father's tales of childhood starvation haunted young Nikolai, planting a seed for what his life's work would become. Then, in 1891, crops across Russia were devastated by an early winter. Merchants are forced to export grain that did survive so they could make a little bit of profit.
Oh.
Which left countless people hungry and starving.
Yep.
And things got bad for a lot of people across the entire country.
Yeah.
Except, of course, for the Romanovs. They were ordering Starbucks puppuccinos from Uber Eats like 5 times a day.
5 times a day.
The delivery fees are astronomical. They're just going crazy.
Eats those what is it?
Puppuccinos.
Rasputin loved the puppuccinos. They'd be like, Rasputin, here you go, your favorite.
That's how he was able to resist his bullet-ridden body having like crawling out of a lake, because he was like, the power of Papacino
sustains me, and then he he froze to death instead of drowning. Legend.
Doesn't matter. Then the Papacino, whipped cream melted, and he just came back to life and kept doing it over and over again. That's how it is. So Nikolai, he didn't experience the worst of it, right? Because his father was still okay. He wasn't like a peasant, like super poor and having to struggle through it. But he did struggle a little bit. But the prospect of this famine just outside of his door calcified a couple of things in him. First of all, despite being raised in the Orthodox Church, where they were probably telling him this is all part of God's plan, etc., and so on and so forth, he was like, absolutely not. There is no God.
Whoa.
I am an atheist.
Whoa. Yeah. In the 1890s?
Yeah, like right around the turn of the century.
I guess that's kind of tracks, because that's when everybody in Russia was like, we don't want God's choice of king or whatever.
Right. But even from a young age, he was just like, no, this doesn't track. This doesn't seem like it stacks up. He's just like, the facts don't make sense. No. Why would starvation be a thing? He's like, nope. So he was certified atheist.
Whoa.
And
card carrying.
Yeah, card carrying. And second was the issue of starvation became a central preoccupation for him. And he loved science and horticulture and seeds, and basically comes up with this thought of like, the human race needs to do a better job at farming and making crops stronger so people don't keep starving to death.
Smart.
Yeah. And that becomes his preoccupation for most of his life. So Nikolai goes on to study hard. He eventually goes to college at the Petrovska Agricultural Academy, where he is known to stroll around campus at all times in a 3-piece suit, as well as apparently a pet lizard in his front pocket. I don't really know.
Icon.
College kids,
so,
am I right?
One of those guys that walks around Washington Square Park in New York with like an iguana.
Basically. I don't know. I used to paint my nails black and had long hair back in college, so I'm not judging. People were weird. We made weird decisions.
Oh, yeah. Wait, you did? Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Does that seem that strange now?
No. Checks out.
Yeah, I wasn't like a goth. I just was like, oh, painted nails are cool. I'm in art school. Painted nails are cool.
Also, weren't you like a skater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not at that time, though. At that time, I'd almost died skateboarding, so I'd stopped.
Right.
But
it like life-changing head injury.
Yeah, life-changing head injury. But the ethos was still there. Yeah. So like the skater, like punk stuff was still part of it. So yeah. And look at me now, just barren, plain old clear fingernails.
Wow.
What
are even you? Straight?
Yeah. Not even French manicure or anything. Just basic.
What a. You know what? I'm sick. I've had it with you.
What a nail cuck.
I've had it with you. The least you could do is manicure your nails for our podcast.
I'm sorry. Famously, the visual medium of podcasting. So anyway, while he's there, he learns about this new thing that they're calling genetics, which is barely a field of study at the time.
Crazy.
Don't forget, this is early 1900s.
Yeah.
And he writes a paper titled Destructive Slugs of the Fields and Gardens of Moscow Provinces about the effects of snails on crops and how they are actually pests.
Whoa.
And from there, he goes on to study in England at the recently founded John Innes Center, where he worked with famed biologist William Bateson, the man who literally coined the term genetics to describe the study of inheritance.
Okay.
So that's how early on all this shit is. Like we were just talking about with
ground
maths.
Floor.
Like,
yeah.
This is literally the beginning of all of it. It's also weird to be like, oh right, I forget that like most of human history and like science like didn't really matter until like 100 years ago, basically.
At least not on the. Here's I will say it did, but in pockets, because we don't. Right. How we understand it now is like global, because once we open up globally and we can actually like share ideas. Before that, there was like.
There was. I shouldn't say there's no science. I just mean that like the amount of science that has developed over the past 100 years is insane comparatively to the 2,000 years before it. So yeah, literally they're like, oh, I'm gonna go study with the guy who came up with the name genetics. Like that's how long.
Mr.
That's how
Genetics
like early
himself.
years. Exactly. Yeah. William Bateson. William Bateson also promoted the ideas of the German-Czech botanist Gregor Mendel. Do you know who that is?
Oh, yeah, I do. He's the guy that grew all the little things and things.
Basically, yeah. He is the first one who proposed that some traits are passed on unchanged from generation to generation. Remember, all nascent, all the beginning. So old Nikolai, he's cross-pollinating with some interesting folks, and his mind is blossoming like Mayim Bialik in the 1990s.
Wow. Good one. Problematic now, but good one.
But in 1914, World War I breaks out.
Oh, yeah.
And he's called back home to do government stuff. And since he's Nikolai the science guy, they send him off.
That show was one of my favorites after school.
Nikolai the science guy.
Imagine just some
Nick.
Imagine some like expressionless old Russian man just being like, if we don't have these seeds, we'll all die.
We're all going to die.
Being like, yay.
Actually, I can send you a picture of him with...
oh, yeah. I didn't send you any photos.
It's fine.
Whoa, which one's him?
He's the guy on the right. That's him with Bateson.
Oh, look at that. Bateson looks like a very wise old British man.
So they're chilling, and they're these are the
buddies.
Good kinds of scientists. They're just chilling. They're buddies. They're sharing ideas. They're going. He was going around Europe with Bateson, just like studying stuff and checking out other things. Bromance, the little bit of a bromance it seemed like was sparking at this time. But then, like I said, so World War I starts, and he goes back, and they're like, okay, well, you're the seed science-y whatever person. So the government sends him off to, guess where? Persia.
Oh.
They send him off to Persia to investigate a strange illness amongst Russian soldiers who were suffering from confusion and dizziness.
Interesting.
They didn't know what was going on. Turns out they were eating some weird bread.
Oh.
And he quickly deduced that the moldy wheat was the problem when making this bread.
Like ergot or whatever?
Sure. Ergonauts. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what the mold's called. Something. I'm assuming that's like a moldy bread type thing.
Yeah. It causes like hallucinations and stuff.
That sounds probably about right. Yeah. Right. That sounds like what it was. And so he's like, oh, okay, that's weird. It's just this wheat that had mold on it because it was, whatever, cured or like stored incorrectly. And they were using that to make the bread. And that's funky. He's like, but I'm going to go check out the wheat just in case. And he goes to look at the wheat, and the wheat that he sees is really strange because it grew to more than 3 feet tall in a mountainous region that was about 6,000 feet above sea level.
Whoa.
And he was like, what?
I didn't know that Iran had such tall mountains.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot of mountains. Mountains.
I made sure I said mountains. I mean, I've seen pictures of Tehran. There's like mountains in the background, but 6,000 feet is like...
pretty tall.
Yeah.
So he was like, damn, Persians, okay, your food and hospitality are unmatched, but your wheat plant's got something going on
bread
too?
That kills our soldiers, but whatever, go off. Be hospitable.
But he's like, that's really cool. That's really interesting. That's some interesting looking wheat. And it's around this time that he comes up with his crazy idea. He posits that modern domesticated crops were susceptible to natural disasters because they were as inbred as a royal family.
He said that?
And... not as inbred as a royal family, but that's
as inbred as the Romanovs.
As the Romanovs or many of the other royal families that are inbred and have been for thousands of years, famously. But they lacked the genetic diversity to survive sudden changes or extreme conditions.
Oh.
That's what he thought. Wild crops, on the other hand, were usually more diverse and could therefore make it through a whole convention day without eating breakfast or lunch and just coffee and actually get all their work done and make enough money.
You know what? You and I, we're wild crops. We do it. We run on nothing.
Absolutely. We won't even eat the moldy wheat. We're like, I don't care.
I forgot to eat the moldy wheat.
I'll just keep screaming at people walking by.
And then at the end of the day, I'll look over at you and you will be so pale and just sitting on a chair like like this.
Do you know how many times we've gone to dinner after a convention day and it's like watching me like I don't know,
to life.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of I have like 5 different examples in my head that I'm thinking of like a Disney prince or a character that dies and then he's like brought back to life. Yeah, the beast.
It's like the beast turning back into a human.
Back into the beast is what I'm turning into, but like the reverse.
No, you're turning into from one of those Little Mermaid worms back into a real person.
Oh, right. Yeah. The ones that like the eels like protect over and stuff. Yeah.
The little grubs.
It's like basically like every day at a convention. That's what happens to me.
And then we're like, why are we insane? And then you eat food and then we end up having like a good, awesome, deep conversation. But like the whole day was absurd.
Yeah. Wild seeds. That's what we are.
We are wild seeds.
So Nikolai's like, yeah, He's like, oh, you crazy convention kids, you got something going on here that I think we could benefit
Mental
from.
illness.
So he pockets a bunch of the Persian seeds to take back home. And Nikolai thought he could toughen up domesticated species by crossbreeding them with wild ones, making him an early champion of what scientists now call biodiversity.
Oh, okay.
To achieve these crosses, old Nicky first had to gather all kinds of seeds. And not just in Persia and Russia, but of course everywhere, because famines happen all over the world.
Yeah.
And he's like, if I'm really going to address this problem, it's a worldwide thing. I got to go. He's like a pit bull, Mr. Worldwide. He's got to go to all these places and get all these seeds and learn all about it from every different place.
A great career.
And he's the pit bull of seed gathering.
He is the pit bull of Russian seed scientists.
So he sets out with like a sling bag and like a fedora hat. Like he's like Indiana Jones collecting seeds.
By the way.
So I don't know who these guys are, but they're a bunch of different like science people that he goes to meet with. He's the one again in the 3-piece suit in the middle with the hat. Oh, yeah. He's looking pretty debonair. He's a handsome fella.
He is. Look at him just palling around with those seed guys. Yeah. And the ladies. Oh, who are they?
I don't know. I don't remember who these people are in the first place. I think they're just science people.
Look at the man to his left with the nose and the eyes.
With the nose and the eyes, yes.
What is that guy? He looks like a cartoon. Alyssa, make a zoom in picture. Zoom it in. Tiny head, big nose.
Oh, to his left, but on the right in the photograph.
On the right of him? Like, just look, that head does not make sense.
It's small, yeah. But anyway, Nikolai, he basically is like, I'm going to go see the world and like talk to everybody that I can, learn as much as I can about seeds, goes on this whole trip. During this time, he picks up English, German, and French, in addition to speaking Russian, obviously, which he already did, which is important because this helps him form relationships with a lot of people in a lot of different places.
Those are some pretty solid core languages.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And, commendably, he's collecting seeds rather than spreading his own seed at all these places.
Well, we don't know that.
As far as I could tell, he wasn't. But he's married too at this
Everyone's
point.
got needs.
He starts a family.
Oh,
that's true.
Okay, all right. He's married.
He's got like a family or like whatever.
Everyone's got needs. Everyone's got seeds.
Everyone's
got...
Put that on a t-shirt. Yeah.
Stupid. Everything I'm saying. Continue.
So by 1917, Nikolai becomes a professor of agronomy at the University of Saratov, just as the Russian Revolution begins.
Oh, dang.
And while the brains of the Romanov family painted the palace walls because they never left a good tip for their DoorDash drivers.
Well, technically it was like in a home farther away from
I was
the
going to
palace,
say, it's not really, yes.
But I love that visual. I mean, I don't love the visual of children's brains on walls, but...
Sure. Sorry. Listen, you all keep saying "eat the rich" on the internet. This is when it happened.
Yeah, this happened.
This happened. Meanwhile, Nikolai, he kept on seeding it up. He's seeding. He's doing it. He's doing his thing.
The braids painted the... That's such a good joke. That's a good one. That's well done. Really good. Like, give me a second.
Tip your DoorDash drivers and your Uber Eats drivers, all of them.
Yep. Even Rasputin.
Even don't tip
Imagine
Rasputin.
Opening the door and Rasputin is giving you your food.
Your pappuccino, sir.
I'm out of a job.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Raspy is almost here.
Raspy has canceled the order.
Yeah.
Raspy has
That's
left
all he does.
Cappuccino on your porch. You specified that.
Raspy has left the puppuccino on your porch. I don't know why. That's the stupidest sentence I've ever heard. I am
excited to add Rasputin to the Kumatab, though. Thanks for bringing him into this.
Oh, that's true. You're right. I did. I wasn't even thinking of that.
I know.
But Nikolai, his research continues, and he's excited about the revolution. He's not a classist. Again, this is a worldly man who has like noble ambitions.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is great. He's like, I don't care. The revolution is going to allow peasants who have traditionally been kept away from education can now join his research teams. He's like, you have to take ideas where they come from. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. If someone has a good idea, you got to run with that.
Yeah. And how many good ideas have we missed by just keeping people poor?
Right. Not even poor, but just marginalized communities, whatever. We talked about this a couple episodes ago when we did the Millicent Patrick episode, I think what we were discussing, where it's like there's all these opportunities that could have potentially come out, but certain people have their the doors closed to them. Yep. So if you're truly a person of science or of art or of like ambition, they're usually those guys are always, or guys and gals, these people are always like, yeah, whatever, wherever it comes from, that's all that matters.
That is
that
all
you
that
bring
matters.
Something beautiful. So he's on board. He's like, great. Nice. He's like not into the whole killing kids thing, like you said, but generally speaking, I think he's into the idea of upward mobility and the possibility of new ideas and new experiences contributing to the sciences. And by 1920, he left the university the same year that he made a name for himself at the All-Russian Congress of Plant Breeders with a paper on the common ancestors of plants and how traits were passed down to modern varieties.
Oh, cool.
Remember, all the beginning of this is all genetic stuff getting passed on one generation to the next. Then he becomes the director of the Lenin All-Union Academy of Agricultural Sciences located in Leningrad, which was a network of research institutions. And this is where his dreams start to come true. He's got like stacks on stacks of like chia and like sunflower and like all these different seeds, whatever, all the crap that he's gotten from like all the different places, which he's just started, by the way. He's not even fully into it yet. He's just beginning this whole adventure.
I'm picturing him taking care of a chia pet, by the way.
He's got a chia pet where the hair grows out like this big and it's crazy. And that's basically what he's teaching in his class every day. Rasputin's his number one student.
Rasputin's like, I just wanted an education, and all that happened was I became some like sick kid's fake doctor.
Did you know that Rasputin's beard is actually all chia?
I was gonna say, is he just made of chia?
He's purely made of chia. Actually, it's not just the beard; it's his entire body.
Really interesting.
Anyway, so at this institution, he's got a place where he's storing these seeds. And honest, everyday Russians are now coming to help and to do research and plant stuff at the academy.
Sounds so exciting.
It's great. One such person was a dude named Trofim Lysenko. Lysenko.
I think it's Lysenko.
Lysenko. Have you heard of Lysenko before?
No, I've heard the name Lysenko, though. But I don't. Yeah. Maybe not his name. Maybe. I don't know.
Now, Lysenko was born into a peasant family in Ukraine in 1898. And his life was tough. And he didn't learn to read or write until the age of 13.
Oof.
Hard. But nevertheless, he persisted.
And he
learned. And lucky for him, the revolution was focused on giving more opportunities to the working class. So, through hard work, Lysenko gained admission to several agricultural schools and climbed the ranks.
Cool.
But he still kept a little bit of that like peasant class thing going on with him. And people used to refer to him as the barefoot scientist, which made him popular with the Communist Party, but not me. Listen, working class or white collar, I don't care.
Away.
I don't want to see your feet in a professional setting ever.
No.
Ever.
Pop them shoes back on. I don't want to look at those.
No, I don't care. I can't. It's like Steve Jobs used to do that. He used to walk around barefoot all the time.
Get your feet out of here.
Disgusting. No.
Don't come correct my code barefoot.
Gross.
I'd like you to put shoes on, please.
I can't do it. I don't want to look at another person's feet in a professional setting. Whatever you do with your time off the clock, that's your business. But at least socks. At least socks.
Or flip-flop. Anything. I don't know.
No, flip-flops make me angry in a professional setting. I don't know why I have extreme views about like flip-flops and barefootness
because
in a professional setting.
It makes sense. If it's professional, why are you barefoot?
Or on a plane. I don't want to look at people's feet. People put their like feet up on the thing and I'm like,
that's where I get so fixated. Like I sat next to somebody that had their feet out and I was like, I'm not going to think about anything else this entire trip.
No, you can't.
Anyway.
It's gross.
Yeah.
But whatever.
We're foot shaming right now.
Not foot shaming, just like, keep it to yourself in your private time. I don't want to see it at work.
No. I don't want to see it on a plane either or a bus.
So in October 1925, the barefoot Contessa himself gets sent to Azerbaijan.
Does he cook for Jeffrey?
He does. He gets sent to a breeding station in the city of Ganja, which was an extension of Nikolai's bounty outfit.
A breeding station in the city of Ganja?
Yes. Not breeding in terms of like people boning each other.
I know,
but, like,
and not
this is
ganja in terms of weed.
Yes, he's not a weed station.
sounds way more fun than I think it is. So
listen, he was in on the ground floor of legalizing marijuana, and he wanted to make a lot of money. So he's like, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to branch out. I'm going to sell THC
to the
soda
breeders.
pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chia seeds.
Chia seeds. Anyway.
THC. Yeah. He gets sent out to Azerbaijan to do that, and he's tasked with introducing legume crops that could solve the problem of starving livestock in early spring, as well as increasing soil fertility.
Oh, cool.
And so Lysenko has a difficult time and doesn't seem to be able to get it, but eventually claimed to have discovered a method to fertilize fields without using fertilizers or minerals, and to have shown that a winter crop of peas could be grown in Azerbaijan.
Oh,
it's exciting.
Yeah, it's big. That's a big deal. Like if I were starving, I'd be like, oh, thank goodness. Like then, someone's doing something.
Then his big break comes as an agricultural researcher in 1927, when he sort of claimed to invent vernalization, which had in fact been tried 70 years earlier.
What is that?
Lysenko claimed he could change when seeds sprouted by exposing them to different periods of cold temperatures.
Oh.
That's the short version of it. That was one of the ones where I was like, I started to read about all that, and I was like, this doesn't matter.
No.
For the sake of the story. What you need to know is that people had already been doing it for 70 years, and he wasn't good at it.
Oh, poor guy.
His quote-unquote discovery was then covered by the newspaper Pravda, where the reporter noted that Lysenko was working for the people, not carrying out research for its own sake by studying the, quote, hairy legs of flies, a jab at geneticists' obsession with fruit flies.
Oh, yep.
So you've been rooting for him here, but now I need to include this disclaimer.
Oh, no, I'm not rooting for anybody. I've learned.
You were like, oh, poor guy. Yeah, okay. So little disclaimer here in the middle of the story. This is where some of the facts and chronology gets a little bit confusing for me. Because if you remember your freshman world history lessons, Russia wasn't exactly a paragon of truth at this time.
No.
And some of this has been unpacked and like re-researched and all that, but not enough to my liking in any kind of like clear narrative thread that I could specifically find without doing like 50 hours of more research.
Well, it sounds like propaganda. Yeah.
So some of the dates might be off. And some of like, you know, what happened before what and after all that, like it's all sort of debatable. But broad strokes, this is what happens, I think.
Okay.
I think what happens is he's actually bad at science and a liar.
Oh, so many of those.
He fakes a bunch of results, and the state paper is like, cool, thumbs up, great, no problems here. We definitely have plenty of food. In Soviet Russia, Barefoot Contessa cooks you, like whatever.
Okay.
So this dude actually, So this is where it starts to get crazy. So
I'm putting the pieces together. Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is bad.
Just wait.
This is real bad.
So all these other scientists read these things that are published, and they're like, dude, what the hell is this shit?
Yeah.
This is bullshit. He's confronted by a guy named Nikolai Maximov. Unfortunately, has the same Nikolai as the name as the other one, but this is a different Nikolai. His last name is Maximov, so I'm just going to call him Maximov.
Okay.
Maximov is an expert on thermal plant development.
Okay.
Maximov claimed that in his vernalization experiments, Lysenko had looked at the amount of growth, how many days went by, and the temperature on those days, instead of measuring any actual heat.
Oh.
In trying to determine the effects, he was making mistakes in statistical analysis of data, and all of his math was wrong and off. He's like, bullshit.
Immediately calls it.
And Lysenko basically like throws a glass of champagne in Maximov's face like he was on The Real Housewives of Leningrad.
I'd watch that.
Lysenko goes off the rails, loses his shit, and effectively starts blaming everything on Western science in like the deep state.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, this is where it gets bad. He makes the bold claim that mathematics have no place in biology. And this becomes a moment that calcifies some shit in him.
Oh, no.
He's like, statistics are dead to me. Previous science is dead to me. And he makes the most Twitter declaration of all time. Quote, I dare state that Mendelism, Morganism, Weissmannicists, and Neo-Darwinism is a bourgeois metaphysical science of living bodies, of living nature developed in Western capitalist countries, not for agricultural purposes, but for reactionary eugenics, racism, and other purposes. I mean, how Twitter is that?
Somehow that is left-wing and right-wing Twitter combined into one tweet where it's like, that is insane. Right. That could have been written yesterday.
It probably was written yesterday.
Yeah. That is so dangerous. Okay.
Oh, it gets worse.
I'm sure it does, if I'm remembering things correctly.
Over time, he develops what he coins the theory of nutrients, which in short, he's basically saying that whatever happens to a plant over the course of its lifetime will directly affect its offspring in one generation on the cellular level. This is a vast oversimplification of what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And while this is absolutely true on an emotional level, you will inherit your parents' trauma, and that will help how you develop emotionally. Mm-hmm. On a genetic level, that ain't it. That's not how it happens. Essentially, the argument that he's making is everything is nurture and genetics ain't shit.
You can't just say that.
Oh, you can.
It's like being like these West Coast elites that go to college, Let's listen to RFK.
Listen, a lot of what I'm covering in this story, you're going to be like, oh, this feels suspiciously familiar and it's terrifying.
Don't love that. I don't like that kind of looming, impending doom feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's basically saying that nature can bend around the will of his deeply rooted insecurities.
Exactly.
And if you disagreed with him, you basically hated communism.
You were a racist.
And you hated the state.
Yeah. Wow.
And naturally, all these scientists are like, dude, you're out of your mind. What are you talking about? None of this makes scientific sense. Everybody except for Nikolai, our original hero, who went on this, he's on this seed gathering trip still. Dude is like, whatever. I've been on sabbatical for all these years. He's running the institute. He's going to talk to all these new people and meet different people around different places and learning. He's on the road.
Yeah.
He's touring essentially.
Right.
And at one point he's in America and he has no idea how insane Lysenko has become.
Oh, no.
And he's like, yeah, dude, my boy Trofim back home is legit. And he's doing all kinds of wacky experiments without any shoes. And who knows, maybe we can solve this whole starvation thing after all. I don't know. It's cool. We're doing shit. We're trying to get it all together. He's doing the PR tour. And then he comes back to Russia and there's another famine.
Yeah, of course. Probably, I think, worse than the other one, right? This is where millions of people die.
Yeah, this is in the early 1930s.
Yeah.
So
great.
This one, this is another one that I could have gone on a 5-hour tear on, but there's a lot of reasons for this one. It doesn't necessarily have to do with just bad farming, but it's also about the switch to the collectivist model and total mismanagement by the state.
Yep.
And authorities coming in and stealing everyone's food to try and sell it. There's a lot of reasons for this famine.
Making people do jobs they were not trained to do because they wanted to upward mobility by force.
Yeah, and trying to do it in a really short period of time. But basically it doesn't look good. It's not great. And people, they need answers as to why this is happening. So in 1935, an agricultural conference is convened for people to share ideas and potential solutions.
Oh.
And all these nerd scientists go up there and they talk about beakers and kelvins and whatever, all that crap, the periodic table, all this nerd shit.
Boring.
But not Lysenko.
Not RFK.
Not Lysenko.
I mean, not Lysenko.
Not RFK. Yeah, not Lysenko. His extremely online Twitter rhetoric has leveled up.
Oh.
And he goes all in. And he's basically like, I grew up a peasant. Therefore, I am a real Russian. I'm not like these Western cuck scientists. Mm-hmm. All of their science is tainted by classist bullshit.
I'm just very triggered. And I mean that sincerely. This is literally what's happening
I guess.
Right now.
I don't know. Yeah. No, it becomes a classist thing where he's like, Vavilov is Nikolai, right? He's friends with a bunch of non-Russians. He's going around speaking different languages, going to all these different countries. We don't know if this guy's a spy, where his alliance is. Meanwhile, I'm here in Russia trying to fix these problems, and I'm trying to find the real science because all these people who have been tainted by the West are telling us that our ways are wrong because they don't actually believe in Russia. They don't believe in the state, and they don't believe in what's great about the Soviet Union.
Oh,
the only way that we can make this work is we need to weed out all this corrupt deep state shit. And he starts doubling down on Soviet science, which conveniently I am the human embodiment of.
Oh, bro, it's heavy. It's heavy. I'm not trying to, I don't mean to get all bummed out, but that is crazy how similar that is.
Yeah, these are scientists, don't forget. So he gives this big, fiery, whatever speech, and everyone's sort of like, I don't know.
Let's clap so he leaves the stage. Like,
everyone's really confused, except for one person in the audience. That one person in the audience.
Seed Boy.
He's like, incredible. This is the greatest speech I've ever heard. Guess who the person is that's in the audience that loves it?
Is it Stalin?
It's your boy, Joseph the Stallion.
Is it my boy? How young is he? Is he hot?
I think he's like middle-aged Stalin at this point.
Never mind. I'm not into
I don't think he's hot as he was when he was younger, which you were famously in love with.
I don't like Stalin. I want to make it clear. I do not like him or believe in what he did, okay? I just think he's hot.
Okay.
I need everyone to know that because it keeps being brought up. And you say your boy Stalin sounds real bad.
Listen, we've made a list of your boys. Your boy Stalin, your boy Reagan, your boy, I don't know, Nixon, probably. No, I guess Nixon would be
he's your boy.
Yeah.
Your boy Nixon.
Anyway, Stalin is there and he's like, he's like, oh my, he's like unbelievable because
confirmation bias.
Famously, Stalin loved gardening and horticulture. That was like one of his hobbies. Yeah. He loved
That's cute.
Gardening. He loved his lemon trees. He had lemon parties all the time.
Oh, beautiful.
So when he saw Lysenko speak, he was like, bro, hell yes. Communism and science. This is the shit.
And plants?
Yeah,
and plants.
And he's like, you're a straight shooter with upper management written all over you. So he goes to speak with him after the conference about his future in the party.
No. And I know how this goes. It's just.
And that
No.
is where I will pick up part 2 next week.
You pulled a 2-parter on me, huh?
I did.
It is chilling to literally hear the same words that are said now coming out of your mouth from 1930.
Horrific.
Really
I swear
scary.
to God, reading that thing that he said was like, oh no.
Genuinely scary, genuinely foreshadowing. It's like, oh, if this were a book, this would be the part where the main character is like, oh no, you know?
Oh shit.
Yeah. Woo! Because the second we start denying science is the beginning of a new, rewriting a new truth, which is what's happening. Scary.
Or aligning science with an ideology.
Yep.
And yet you can see emotionally how it can get manipulated. It's totally. I think I would have, if I had read this when I was young, I would have been like, that's weird. How could people be so like dumb? And I can't believe that would ever happen. And then now you're like, oh, I see how this happens.
I've watched my family members
I've watched
do this
happen. Yeah, I've watched this happen.
I've watched many friends of mine fall down this trap. Trap Island. No, like we don't change, do we? We do not change.
Anyway, that is the end of part 1.
Oh, you blue ballsed me, dude. You gave me podcast blue balls.
Your seeds turned blue.
You talked about Stalin, and then you just dropped it. You just left it off.
I knew that was going to be the place where you were going to be like, hey.
He's evil. Okay?
Anyway, look at how stupid these people look.
Let me see.
Lysenko. This dude sucks.
I was going to say, I could easily see myself, because, oh, that's him?
Yep.
I don't trust that face at all.
Here he is doing seed stuff.
Oh, yeah, there he is. Wow, the cheekbone and jawbone are absolutely out of control.
It's so angular.
I've never seen someone with that angular of a jaw in my life.
Yeah, it's It's really impressive.
He, I think, is the most Soviet-looking person I've ever seen. That dude is Russian. Well, I guess he's Ukrainian, but
he's Ukrainian, yeah.
But I tend to sometimes be kind of classist in the opposite direction, where I'm like, yeah, the rich are stupid and they don't know anything. And so I could easily see an uneducated version of me back then being like, yeah, he speaks for the people, but that's why it's terrifying. It's because we're watching this happen now. Anyway, I can't talk.
Well, that's why science is important, because you have to be like, what does that data actually tell you separate
There's
from
no
whatever this
in
person's.
Science. It's just, I mean, there is, depending on funding and stuff like that. But
yeah,
But the truth of something should be classless or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Woof. What a story, dude. I'm excited.
Right?
Yeah.
This one was crazy. This one's hard. And again, I think like I said, I said the disclaimer, but just to reiterate, some of the things might have been, here or there, or that might have happened before or after. But I did take a little bit of liberty just for the sake of clarity. But like essentially, like that's broad strokes what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Anyway, thank you. Yeah. Next week, I'll get into the rest of this story.
I'll say this now. Next week is going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Intense.
I'm excited to the way it goes in a really weird direction, which I think is really cool. Anyway, I won't give any more away of it, but
okay.
These two dudes I thought were so interesting that they had. I had never heard about this, and like it's two totally conflicting ideologies. Anyway, that's it for this week. So let's go ahead and close our tabs.
Yeah, let's do it.
What would you like to tab it with?
Something to do with
tabs.
How about just a tab, like a clicking sound, like we're closing a tab? No.
I think it should like vanish, like disappear, like
and pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a disappearing island, or like
exactly.
Or like siege sounds, like we're sieging Leningrad. That's sad.
Well, technically, that will be next week when we get into that part of it. So,
okay,
I don't know.
So yeah, let's just do
or grumbling stomach. I don't know. Somebody who's really hungry.
For the starvation. We're gonna do the vanishing sound.
Okay.
We're gonna undiscover these tabs.
Oh, that's right. Undiscover the tabs. Love it. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, you do it.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
All right, moving on to listener emails. Undiscovered, yeah. Go for it. I think you're up first with the listener emails.
Yes, I am. The first one, funnily enough, is also set in the same era as your tab. So.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
It is from Verena, and Verena, I think, is on the Discord. What's up? Dear tab openers, your tab about Helga Meyer reminded me of this insane story I read about a Finnish soldier taking a platoon's worth of meth and going on a Nazi-killing rampage through Lapland. When I went back to it, the story's a little more complex, but certainly just as insane. No Nazis. This was earlier when Finland was fighting the Russians.
Okay.
So during the 1940s, many countries were experimenting with giving their soldiers basically pure methamphetamine for emergencies. The Finnish army was no different. And so during their war with the Soviets, a young ski squad, because they used to have those ski battalions, you seen those guys? They would like go on skis.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a James Bond villain of some sort.
I am the Finnish ski squad, yeah. A young ski squad leader named Imo Kovanen found himself with 30 meth rations in his pocket. He had the whole squad's meth rations in his pocket.
Did so much cleaning. His uniform was spotless afterwards.
You know what? He counted each snowflake. No, I was gonna say this tab has been open on mine, and I have thought about doing it. It is extensively covered, so this is perfect that someone wrote in because it's more like a fun thing rather than me.
I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
Oh my! It is. This guy's nuts. His squad found themselves deep behind enemy lines in the high Arctic when they were ambushed by Soviets. They managed to escape on skis. Imo was the leader, cutting through the fresh snow, creating tracks for his men to follow, an especially draining task. He thought, this seems like a meth emergency to me. But because he was wearing thick mittens, he couldn't separate out one pill from another, and he just took the whole 30 doses at once.
Holy shit!
He instantly sped up. And he and his squad left the Soviets in the dust. But Imo was still on lethal amounts of meth, so he just kept going, losing consciousness while skiing. When he came to, his squad was far behind, and he was still deep behind enemy lines. Running on nothing but meth, pine buds he gnawed on along the way, and a raw Siberian jay bird he managed to capture and eat. He just kept going for another 3 weeks.
What?
Until he finally made it behind Finnish lines. So this dude dosed out of his brain on meth, right? Oh no, you've done it, Verena. Look at him.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Just picture this. He's like methed out skiing.
What was the ski game that was like on Windows? Where like
I love that game. What was it called? But imagine that, like
Ski Free, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
And then like the weird Bigfoot would come out like to attack you. I feel like him as the Yeti. Yeah, that's him. He's the Yeti on skis like for 3 weeks.
Oh.
Just
well, and then imagine he's like, oh shoot, I'm hungry. I'm gonna just catch a bird and eat it. Like he just methed out, grabs. I picture him just grabbing it from the air, just devouring it on the spot.
I feel like this guy should be in Kumatab.
Oh, he's gonna be.
Oh, man, amazing. 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Imagine
21 days.
Imagine how scary that, like, week 2, you're just like, I can't stop. I'm scared of myself.
The funny part to me is when they say when you go on vacation, I think they say roughly about 20 days is or like it's like 10 days or 20 days, somewhere around there is when you're supposed to like end your vacation, because after a certain point you become used to something and like the novelty of it wears off
and you're like, I
so
don't
it's
wanna...
like that guy just mentally reached a state where he was like, I guess I'm just on meth for the rest of my life now, and it ceases to be as interesting.
Well, that's what because the thing is, he's
it
like,
became
I'm probably
normalized.
gonna die. He probably knew he was gonna die. He's like, I guess this was the end of my life. Like, I'm behind enemy lines on 30 doses of meth. Like, have you ever accidentally taken 2 Adderalls in one day?
2 Adderalls? No, I've done one. I've taken 1 Adderall in a day before, but not 2 Adderalls
back in college when day. I maybe just
that sounds terrifying.
A little bit abused it a little bit, but I was like, I need extra focus. But instead, I had like 5 panic attacks in a row.
I need extra panic attacks today.
I learned my lesson. So when he was brought to the medics, he weighed 90 pounds.
Oh my God. Is he still wearing his skis?
And his heart was filled up.
His heart was what?
His heart was beating 200 beats per minute.
This poor bastard.
And he had crossed 250 miles of Arctic terrain on his own.
I don't know why this tickles me so much.
Because it's
I feel
absurd.
like so I feel like I that's what having anxiety feels like.
Yes, 100%. For all those neurotypical people out there, that's what it feels like.
That's what it feels like. You just came to and you're like, oh, I guess I just spent the past 3 weeks in a state of panic.
Anyway, I'm going to send you a picture of Imo.
Just wearing the skis the whole time. I'm sorry, I'm totally derailed. I can't.
I got to find this photo that Verena included.
This poor bastard.
Just wait till you see the photo of him. This photo is incredible.
This poor man. He looks like Adam Ruins Everything if he had done a bunch of meth and took off his glasses.
And Verena says,
Conover is his last name, right?
Here's a picture of him from several years later where he still looks like a man who stared into the face of God and or the devil. I couldn't find any evidence that anyone had investigated why 30 doses of meth didn't kill him stone dead.
Yeah, seriously.
But kept him going for 3 weeks. If it was something about his body chemistry and metabolism or something about the way his body reacts to Arctic conditions. But probably don't try this at home. Maybe you can ask Dr. Kave about it sometime. Keep it Josie.
Oh, we should ask him
Verena.
about it.
Yeah, so I went and read more about this guy, and apparently the only reason this story has even come to the attention of anybody is because there was like a newspaper contest about like, write in your craziest stories. And he was like, oh, I have a pretty crazy story. And he like,
let me tell you about the time I took 30 doses of meth by accident.
How I was on meth for 3 straight weeks. I feel like you wouldn't even sleep. You would just kind of like hover in existence, like between. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. I have known a person or two who has taken some meth.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't sleep. They do not sleep for a long time.
There's no sleeping involved.
No, it's wacky.
That's the thing about meth. This is just like you do coke and it's like, woo, and then like, but meth is like in your system.
Yeah, although I think from what I know, the people who have done this or been in that state were like they were doing it repeatedly, consistently.
Oh, okay.
But rather than taking a whole bunch of meth at once and then being awake for 3 weeks.
I thought it was like very sustaining. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's do
No,
meth.
I'm saying, but like taking all that meth at once.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm surprised he doesn't, unless like the doses were just really small or like it wasn't like that intense of meth. Like it was just meant to be a tiny, like that's the only way he would have, because otherwise his heart would have exploded.
Well, yeah, that's,
like,
he
it's
must
interesting.
have had a perfect heart because
yeah.
I don't know. And apparently he killed
like,
a bunch of Russians while he was at it. So
yeah, I was going to say, but he's already running from people, right?
Meth killing rage.
Yeah, like his adrenaline's already running. I wonder if like that dumped it. I'm fascinated. I actually do want to talk to a scientist about doctor about how this worked.
The chemical composite, whatever's going on chemically, is probably something really fascinating. That has to do with. We
should talk to Dr. Hoda about this.
I'm just going to talk. Like, how much meth can a human take before they die? And then not tell him anything else. Anyway,
he is always looking for other topics to discuss, so we'll reach out to him. We'll just be like, "Yo, Hoda, what do you think of this shit?"
Ooh, you're right. Good
He'll
idea.
just be like, "I don't know anything about meth. Why do you think that?"
He sweats.
I'm a GI. I don't deal with that stuff.
I deal with the poop.
Yeah, farty poop stuff. Okay, that was awesome. Thank you for that. Email number 2. I'll just make it quick because we went a little bit long. Scott writes, a little backstory. Years ago, I was transcribing a series of diaries from the Boston area from the 1880s. Cool. At one point, the writer mentioned an accident/disaster in Boston. So, of course, I was like, what happened? I should look this up. So I just Google a disaster in Boston and come across the story, which was decades later. So it wasn't the one she was talking about, but was so interesting I had to read the article. I couldn't imagine drowning in molasses. Oh. Avid listener, Scott from Gibson ones, and they include the article for the Great Molasses Flood.
Have you read about this before?
Oh, do you know about it? I thought you were saying that
I've read about it, but I don't remember details.
It says a large storage tank filled with 2.3 million U.S. gallons of molasses, weighing approximately 13,000 short-ton bursts, and the resultant wave of molasses rushed through the streets at an estimated 35 miles an hour.
That's fast.
Yeah, especially when they say you're moving slow as molasses, famously. So that must have been a lot of like pressure that it's moving at.
Push, yeah.
Killing 21 people and injuring 150. The event entered local folklore, and residents reported for decades afterwards that the area still smelled of molasses on hot summer days. What did you read about it beyond that? Do you know more about it?
No, just that it was like it sounds silly, but it was actually pure terrifying.
Yeah.
Like it was moving at an insane rate, and people would just get caught like quicksand. Like it would overtake somebody, and they would just couldn't move. They would just drown in molasses.
It was just drown in molasses. Yeah. That sounds awful.
Imagine molasses entering your lungs.
Ooh. It's like apparently that molasses had taken 30 soldiers worth of meth before it popped out. And was on skis the entire time.
The skis part was crazy.
There's like Russian soldiers out of the way. Move, move.
This molasses meth.
Molasses
on meth. Molasses.
Molasses. Anyway, thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
If you also have a lovely tab to send us, please email us at 500opentabs@gmail.com. That's 500. Give us a brief explanation of what your tab's about. Include the link and let us know where you're from. And we would love to read it on the show.
Or send us a voice memo of maybe a minute long.
Yes,
that can be
same
good.
thing. Thank you. Moving on, before we wrap out, we wanted to talk about, because this is Thanksgiving week and the beginning of the, I guess Black Friday is technically 2 days from now, but this is when the holiday shopping season begins. We thought, let's capitalize on that by coming out with something that our tens of listeners would want to listen to. So we have 2 things to discuss. One, first and foremost, is for the podcast. So our friend Hannah Hillam here has designed something cool. Why don't you tell us what we got?
So it is a sweatshirt that says "Throw me in the bog" on it.
Woo!
And it's I think captures a lot of people's feelings in general. But it's pretty cool. There's a little skeleton on the front, and on the back you get to have like a "Throw me in the bog." And
it's a wonderful design. You have to remember, Hannah, that some people who are not on YouTube, we have to describe it as well as we can so they know.
All right. So it is like a skull, and it has like grasses and bog gunk coming out of it, and it looks like you're under the water. There's like bubbles, and there's a frog, and then it says "Throw me in the bog," and the bog's all like the word bog is all boggy.
It's a super cool design.
Thank you.
And then the front of it has that same skull, smaller over the breast.
The grasses coming out of it.
The left breast, it's very great. I love it.
So that's available for purchase for about 10 days only, starting today. Yeah.
Starting today. That's our exclusive drop for the winter 2024 season. Something that can keep you warm with the thought of just wrap yourself in bog and stay warm over the holidays.
Let those grasses envelop you and protect you with their special acidity.
Yeah, it's going to be on our bonfire site. That's where we're going to be selling it. So we'll include the links in the show notes. The links will be up on Instagram. It'll also be in the Discord, which you should join if you haven't yet.
Yeah, it's fun.
Go get yours. Like I said, or like Anna said, it's a brief 10-day window, I think, that you're able to make those purchases. And then once everyone's got their order in, they do the batch production and send them out. So hopefully
they'll be ready for Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. I think the batches will be delivered on like the 13th or something, so
hopefully
plenty of time.
Crossed,
and also this can probably lead into what you're going to say next, but like, capitalism and corporations are like, they're trying to get your money at this time of year. Best way to spend it is on small artists, like personal
support artists, support
artists
podcasts
who actually create their own things and do it with love, and so do that. Buy from artists,
support the show.
Speaking of buying from artists,
additionally, I am also going to be doing a Black Friday sale on my website, blacksmithfilms.com. Please go check it out. If you are not familiar with any of my work, I have several books that I've written and illustrated. The one I wanted to highlight on today's episode are my Perma-Friends books. This is a graphic novel series. It's all comedic, as you might expect from the tone of this show. But this one, Perma-Friends, is like that's my baby. That's the one that I love the deepest. That's the one that I've written many books on.
If you want to watch three characters that represent the different parts of him argue with each other, then
yeah, that's basically me. So the Perma-Friends are the premise of this series, that it takes place in the future when humans have inevitably all gone extinct, and they're no longer around to explain anything that they've done or why they do it. And robots and animals inherit the earth, and they just continue on. The Perma-Friends are these three characters. So it's Esteban, who is a penguin who's a survivalist who had to escape the poles because they were melting. This is Byron, who's a snow person who's born out of the last nuclear war. And this is Harpo, who's an ad bot, who's basically a TV on wheels. And he roamed the earth for 1,000 years trying to sell ads to humans, but there were no more humans around. So those are the Perma-Friends.
Why do I feel like heartbreak for that robot? It's like he's just doing his job.
He's just doing his job. He's just doing what he can. In the first book in the series, they all meet because they think that Harpo's chasing them down, but he's really trying to sell them ads for antidepressants. And then they deprogram him by accident, and they start going on adventures.
Something is so heartbreaking about doing the work that your God made you for the God who does not exist anymore.
Yeah. So
devastating.
These books are dear to my heart. They are all ages. I get a lot of compliments on them. You've been kind enough to mention them in previous episodes. People love them.
No, they're genuinely
they make
really
great
good.
Gifts. Thank you.
They're, like I've said, I've given them to 13-year-olds, and they have really enjoyed them.
Thank you. So,
and I've enjoyed them. They're great.
Thank
if you think he's funny, then you should buy his books.
Yes. So for Black Friday,
Mothman?
I'm going to be. I've also I was going to say. So I also have my Mothman book, which is Mothman's Compendium of Southern California Cryptids. Which if you don't know about this one's been a hot item at the conventions. Sold quite a lot of these.
He sells out.
This is. I do. This one's just about Mothman comes to Southern California to look for other cryptids, and he ends up writing a travel guide, which is really just a way for me to make fun of most of Southern California. And there's a lot of fun things in there. And what I've noticed is the great part about making fun of LA is that everybody from LA likes to make fun of LA, and then everybody outside of LA loves to make fun of LA. So it works out well.
It's perfect.
And then lastly, I have my Imaginary Friends Forever, which was my daily strip that I did for a while. This is a collection of the first 150 strips. And this one's basically, it's basically like Calvin and Hobbes for people in their 30s. So the idea is that you need an imaginary friend when you're an adult as much as you do when you're a kid. So for Black Friday, if you put 500 open tabs in the, use the code 500 open tabs at the checkout. I got these, I mentioned I had these prints that I had given out, that I had at Comic-Con. I got a bunch of them left over. Sorry, I don't know if I was speaking to I got a bunch of them left over. So if you go and you purchase and use 500 open tabs at checkout, I'll give you one of those prints for free. And also give you a 500 open tab sticker.
Yeah. I love that sticker.
Me too. I'm very proud of whoever drew it. What a talented artist.
Charles
You
Schultz.
should buy their books. Yes.
Charles Schultz's ghost.
Yeah.
You should buy
anyway,
that'll
be going to the end of the weekend. So if you're interested in gifts, if you want to help us out, if you want to help me out, you can either help out by buying some of our books just because or buying some of my books because they're fun and good, or the sweatshirt, either one.
Support artists.
Support artists, yeah.
Don't buy it from Amazon.
End of plug.
Yeah.
And basically that's it. Yeah. Otherwise, if you want to stay up to date with us, I'm at PermaFriends on Instagram, and then we're at 500 Open Tabs on Instagram as well.
And I'm at Hannah Hillam on Instagram, and everything else.
Yeah. And this Thanksgiving, please, instead of arguing about politics at dinner, tell them about this mid-podcast and just get them to, if you really want to piss your family off.
Share a fact you learned from this podcast at Thanksgiving dinner. And then you guys are going to be our missionaries, okay? This is how you get in. You sit down and you're like, did you know that this guy made some seeds or whatever? I don't know. I already, or did you know about Phantom Islands? And they'll be like, what's that, you stupid liberal cuck? And you're like, sorry, Uncle so-and-so, but Phantom Island. Anyway, we can work it in there somewhere.
Or if they're arguing, just go outside and listen to the podcast and then tell them about it afterwards.
Yeah.
You know? But do what you can to help spread the word. Thank you. Yes. Sorry, we're asking for a lot of... Thank you. Sorry, are you mad at us? We appreciate it. Thank you.
We give them a lot of hours of entertainment. So I
guess that's true. Yes.
We can ask for some things.
Please help.
Support
anyway,
us.
Hannah, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thanks. That was really awkward to wait for that response. You were like, I don't hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
Well.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great Thanksgiving weekend. Buy, as in buy stuff.
Buy
and
stuff
also
from our stores.
Yes. Follow the links. Help us out.
Yes, please.
And have a happy Thanksgiving. And
double salute.
Secundus Nixon shat Thanksgiving dinner 5 times.
Sick.
No, keep it Josie. Keep it Josie, everybody.
Keep it Josie. Ba-boom.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So stupid. Ooh.